Lesson 80. More about suus, sua, suum. In the last lesson, we talked a little bit about the word his in English. And we don't want to talk just about the word his, but also the word her and the word its. In English, these words can do several things. And so in this lesson, we want to break it down and let you examine the different ways we can use these words. And to help you do that, I've created a little exercise here with 2 parts at the beginning of the lesson. It's 2 paragraphs. Here's the first one. It's Bring Your Pet Day at the park. Kevin has his cat, Bob has his parrot, and Fred has his dog.
Right, and the second one reads, Charles is going on a trip, so he asked his friends to let his pets live with them while he is traveling. Kevin has his cat, Bob has his parrot, and Fred has his dog.
So here's the thing to notice. So at the end of each of those 2 paragraphs, we have the same few words. We have Fred has his dog at the end of each one. So the word his there in the phrase Fred has his dog, here's the question I want to ask you. Is the word his in each of those 2 examples referring to the same person, or are they referring to 2 different people?
Exactly. English can be ambiguous this way. We have to think it through.
So in the last lesson, we told you that suus, sua, suum always is saying that something is belonging to the subject of the sentence. So let's analyze these 2 here, and let's see if the English word his is going to function in the same way.
All right, so in paragraph 1, whose cat is the one that Kevin has? That is, who does the cat belong to?
He has his own cat. Kevin's cat, the cat that Kevin has, is Kevin's cat.
And who does the parrot belong to?
Bob, in his little phrase there, Bob is the subject, and he has his own parrot.
And so Fred is going to work the same way, right?
Yes, Fred, in his phrase, he's the subject of the sentence, and Fred has Fred's dog. So
right.
The word his is being used there to say that Fred has his dog, meaning his own dog.
So if we were to translate this paragraph into Latin, we could have suus aum agreeing with cat, parrot, and dog.
Right, because in each of these examples, the thing being possessed belongs to the subject of the sentence. So in Latin, you would use suus, sua, suum to do that.
All right. Well then, Bill, why don't you explain for us then how it is that in paragraph number 2, it doesn't work quite the same.
Okay. In paragraph number 2, we still have that same text at the end, Fred has his dog. But in this particular case, the word his is not talking about a dog that belongs to Fred. It's talking about a dog that belongs to someone else. Let's look at the context again.
Right, so Charles is going on a trip.
Right, this is all about Charles, not Fred.
Right, so it's Charles' cat and Charles' parrot and Charles' dog.
Right, it's one guy named Charles, has lots of pets. He goes on a trip and gives his pets to other people to pet sit for him while he's traveling. So when we say Fred has his dog, we're not saying that Fred has Fred's dog, but we're saying that Fred has Charles's dog.
Exactly. So if we were to change these sentences into Latin, we would not be allowed to use suus with this cat or this parrot or this dog. We'd have to use a different word.
Right. So at the very end of that, we have Fred has his dog, but in that case, the word his is not referring to Fred, who is the subject of that area of the sentence. It's referring to Charles.
Exactly. So in that way, Latin is a lot more clear.
So in Latin, we have 2 words to cover the things that are handled by one word in English. In English, the word his can tell you that something is belonging to the subject or something is belonging to someone other than the subject. It's like it serves double duty. But in Latin, we have one word to tell you that it's belonging to the subject and a different word to tell you that it's belonging not to the subject, but to someone else. So in example 1, you would use suus, sua, suum in Latin. In example 2, you would use a different word, which is spelled E-I-U-S or E-J-U-S, and it's pronounced eius.
That's right. And take note, if you decide to use this word, that is in the singular. We'll have to leave off the plural for another time.
Yes, and we're not going to talk too much about AS here, except to show you what you use it for, and that's not the same thing that we use suis, sua, suum for.
Well, what do you think, Bill? Do you think they're ready to maybe practice?
I think so.
Well, then I guess they should listen to the next lesson, huh?
Yes. Let's review this one last time before we go on.
All right.
Suis, sua, suum can mean his, her, or its, referring to the subject of the sentence. It's telling you that the subject of the sentence is possessing something. Eius, E-J-U-S, or E-I-U-S, is telling you that something belongs not to the subject of the sentence, but someone else who is being referred to or talked about. That's the big takeaway from this lesson.